We are live. We promised basketball last week. We mentioned something about potentially a video later in the week. We started digging into it. We reached out to a friend and we realized Tuesday night would be much better. So we have a very special guest in the building. The first repeat guest in Indiana Hoosiers live history, or I guess our version of its history. Coach Pundit, welcome to Indiana Hoosiers Live. Welcome back to Indiana Hoosiers Live.
Gentlemen, it's a pleasure. It's an honor. Being your first guest was unexpected, but an unexpected surprise. Let's be honest. You guys are the next thing in this podcast, IU sports space. So I'm honored just to be a small little bitty part of it. But Alec Goom, always a pleasure. Gents, how we doing?
Doing great. Glad to have on the resident hoops junkie for IU, the man with a pulse on a nation, Hoosier Nation that is. And yeah, glad to have you back, Pundit.
Glad to be here. No doxing. No, maybe one day.
Obviously, last week we had Mark Rogers on the show, the head honcho of Voice of College Football. That was an awesome, conversation we had with him. Talked for about an hour. You can check that out on the channel. But what we ended up doing was taking all of the basketball conversation we were going to have last week and pushing it off because of the football content we had. And so this is the basketball temp check. And of course, the most important thing that happened in the last 2 weeks for Indiana basketball was the commitment of Prince Alexander Moody, quickly becoming a fan favorite in Bloomington in terms of like the way he's using Twitter and essentially ingraining himself as part of the fan base. So Pundit, I'll go to you first. We've had 2 weeks now to embrace Prince Alexander Moody. Have you ever seen anybody, I guess, integrate into the fan base in a way that this kid has done in this short period of time?
No, I've never seen anything like it in terms of just being so willing to engage online. And clearly, he's done a lot of homework on IU sports. I've seen him get involved with the football team, supporting all the boys, supporting all the programs. So, especially for an out-of-state kid, right? Like, you've seen these in-state kids that wanted to play at IU their whole life, and they know what to say because they've been planning for that moment. The fact that he's kind of embraced that moment is pretty cool. I mean, what else is there to say? I think we talked about it earlier a little, and Prince Alexander Moody, the guy, love him. The basketball player, don't know him yet. I can't really tell much from his film, right? Like it's not a. If he wasn't doing the Twitter shtick, I don't think there would be like that much excitement about him. And that's not, saying he's a bad player at all, but more just like he's a 4-year guy. It looks like he needs some development. It looks like, and just in terms of basketball, like it's going to take a little while to get going, but also the attitude is there. And I know it's what a lot of fans have been hoping for, something like that, someone that really is bought in.
Yeah, in this era of NIL and transfer portal, like the idea of him being a 4-year guy is very in the realm of possibility, even if he is good right away, like as a freshman or a sophomore. Like even if he contributes immediately, he could still end up being at IU for 3-4 years with NIL. And obviously with the portal being in play, you could bring in good players to build around him if he is that star. The one thing that stood out for me was I can't remember the last time we've had a shooting guard from the DMV area since Victor Oladipo. That's what gets me excited.
The DMV area is probably a top 3 or 2 hotbed of basketball talent in the country, in my opinion. I mean, the amount of dudes that come out of there and the type of dudes that come out of there's a certain type. It's, how like the East Coast, like New York Hoopers, or at least you did back in the day, the Rucker guys, the street ball guys. DMV has its own wave, and Brad, I couldn't agree with you more. Victor being a DMV guy, you do see some similarities there. So, no, it's cool, and it's never a bad thing to get a 4-star recruit that clearly wants to play ball at IU.
Yeah, 100%. You get a team full of 4 stars. You're going to be in the running to make a run in March, which is kind of a little different than what we see on this current roster. As I'm live making my little depth chart on my notebook. What's interesting about this team is that, we're coming in. It's something we haven't really seen before. Maybe you could argue the Archie era was a little bit like this.
Well, hold on, Brad. I want to pause you real quick
Yeah.
if you're going to jump into the roster because I want
I
to
was
talk.
gonna jump into the team now over
Okay,
things.
cool.
So,
I wanted to pause you real
reel
quick.
me
So I
in.
want to talk about Coach Kenny Johnson, who
Okay.
was instrumental in this recruitment of Prince Alexander Moody. I believe it was a picture of the two of them back when Coach was at URI. I think was the one I saw, something like that. But their relationship goes way back. And so you just kind of, in the short amount of time, you look at Kenny Johnson, the recruiter and the relationship builder. You look at somebody like Rod Clark, the recruiter, the relationship builder. Very, very quickly, we're seeing meaningful impacts from these assistant coaches. It's like that's a huge green flag. So I guess, Pundit, what I guess were your takeaways, and
Yeah.
how does that? How do you feel like that's impacting recruiting in both? I guess, yeah. So how?
No, I'm Kenny, and specifically in Kenny's case, I mean, Kenny, he coached at IU under Crean, and he was a recruiting G. Like he was out there on the trail. He formed great relationships. People like him. He's known, right? Kind of like how Coach Ya was. Not to compare it to past things, but like one of the great traits about Yasir was the relationships that he had been able to make with kids. It's an important thing, and it's a lost art nowadays, especially when the bag is involved and, you have agents at 16. So having someone like Kenny back on staff, I was probably 15 years old, 16 years old when Kenny was on the last staff, and I still knew who he was. Maybe that's because 'cause I'm a Hoosier junkie, but also, those Korean staffs, they did a good job of finding talent and, really raising it. So I love the hire. It was out of nowhere, to be honest. Like I would have never expected that Kenny Johnson was coming back to IU, but it's a pleasant surprise for sure.
Yeah, and if my memory is correct from that era, I believe Victor Oladipo and OG Anunoby, who were by far the most successful NBA players from that era, were both 3 stars coming out of high school. The big handsome obviously was a highly touted 5-star coming out. All those brothers were. Uh, but what would you say in terms of Kenny now getting what I would call an upper level recruit as opposed to maybe a Victor and an OG? Like what kind of impact do you see that continuing moving forward? Is he gonna, stay with the old time, still find
Yeah.
diamonds in the rough? Like, what do you think?
No, definitely. I think his ability, I mean, when you show it off the bat, right? Like he's been on the staff, what, a month? He was announced a few weeks ago. Maybe a month and a half, 2 months, so time moves quick. But nonetheless, when you get a commit that quick, and not only just a commit, but like he's a culture fit. And I hate to use those words because it's a buzzword and means nothing, but it's a culture fit for him. Clearly, Prince has taken a liking to not only Kenny but the IU program, and that's his job, right? It's to sell us, it's to sell Bloomington, it's to sell Assembly Hall, and that kid, he bought every single product. He is so bought in. So I think it's so indicative of what Kenny's going to bring. Like I mean, I think he coached. I want to say he coached like Terry Rozier back in the day at Louisville. Like he was a dog. Damian Lee, yeah, I'm looking it up now. Donovan Mitchell, Cody Zeller, obviously Noah Vonleh, Josh Hart. Like these are NBA lifers. These are dudes that get minutes. I think that's an important thing. And the last staff, they had good relationships as well. And I know people don't like the NBA to get in the way, right? Like we don't want guys that want to go to the NBA only or whatever. But in reality, that's the reality we live in. Like we're Indiana, and honestly, the guys that we are recruiting should want to go to the NBA, right? Like that should be
100%.
their goal. I don't want guys
Buzz
that just want
Williams
to
said
tap
that on a
out.
podcast. Yeah.
Yeah,
Buzz
exactly.
Williams
And I
said he
think
advocates that.
so. I think it's a good move, and I think he's going to be a good part of the team for sure, and that's in the staff, and having that experience in Bloomington before is huge, right? He was here 2012 through 2014 or 15. Those were the years that Korean turned around the program, right? Like 2012, we beat Kentucky. 2013, we were the 1 seed. those are big years to be a part of Indiana. He saw, he probably heard stories. He was actually there during the best year, the comeback year. But he probably heard stories about what those years not too long before that, right? The 3 years before that, Crean's first few years of his coaching tenure, and things in Bloomington, like we think they're bad now. It wasn't even close. We won 6 games one year. So for him to be a part of a turnaround in Bloomington, it's pretty cool. And I think it's going to bridge the gap really well. And he could hopefully be there for Coach Deves when it eventually, no matter what, the first sign of turmoil is going to create a reaction, whether it's positive, whether it's negative. So to have someone that's there, that's seen this before, I think it's huge.
Yeah, and I think one thing that really stood out to me from what you're saying was like the idea of selling Bloomington. And I don't know, I don't want to call like a particular person out over the past 8 years since basically post Crean. I never really got the vibe that people were there for, Indiana. And I'm not going to call it was just the overall vibe that I was getting. Maybe that's from the lack of success and things like that. But like, just like kids, the thing that stuck out about Prince and why I think people are so receptive is that he seems to be really invested into the Indiana lore, like the lore that is Indiana, like good and bad, like Indiana basketball is remembered forever. That
100%.
era, that bad era, that good era, that
I don't know
championship
if that's
there,
necessarily
that
fair,
run.
given that we like Anthony Leo is somebody who didn't get his waiver approved.
Yeah,
But
and
like we just
I was
watched
just saying the
4 or 5
overall
years of
vibe of
Leo
the team.
Galloway. Like
Yeah, there's certain guys that obviously loved Bloomington, right? But as a collective, making sure that every single kid in that locker room is there for Bloomington, not for Indiana, for that team, not necessarily like the bag or whatever, or like as a launch pad to get to the NBA and be a one and done. Like I'm not trying to call anyone particularly out here. I'm just saying, like, as a collective, I feel like we have that now. And Prince is an example of that, being so engaged with the program early on. And then obviously with kind of, the low level recruits that we have on the roster, currently. I don't want to transition on you, Keezer, but I'm just, I'm just saying the type of low level recruits, like you could only, you start your career at, for example, North Florida, you all of a sudden get that IU offer. I mean, you got, that's just a different feeling than being a, a 4 or 5. It's a different type of motivation than being a 4 or 5 star walk, or a 5 star for sure, walking into Bloomington. Totally different vibe, totally different mindset. Yeah, I like that approach, as opposed to, obviously I'll take any 5 star that wants to come to Bloomington. I'll take them, but as long as they're there for the 5 stars on the back of the neck, the logo on the front left shorts, or the whatever that word on the front, the great state. I'm all for it. And it seems like Kenny is that guy that's gonna, like you said, bridge the gap that we might have been missing. I could be wrong. I'm not in that locker room. So that was just the overall vibe I got, as a collective, not really, into, yeah. And I'm not going to call anyone particularly out here, and you guys can say I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. And I'd say for the most part, I agree. At the end of the day, it's about building culture. It's about, identifying talent. And honestly, I think, I'm not trying to segue, but I think a lot of the theme that I see on Twitter from certain fans and online in general, and from some of the media heads, like, I think they act like there's one correct way to recruit and identify talent, when in actuality, you want a staff built of dudes that have different outlooks and different methods. Because at the end of the day, it needs to be a mix of everything. It needs to be a mix of the 5 stars and the 3 stars who are homebred, but they want to play there and they'll work hard, and the 4-star transfers. And, like, there's all these combinations. And I think bogging it down to one thing is a problem, in our perception, right? And I think Kenny offers something unique, and he's one small part of the machine, and the machine, that's what we need to strive towards, I think. And I think that's something that might have been, you know missing to some extent from the Woodson tenure. Obviously, I was a staunch defender of the Woody man, and I will stand on that. And that is not because I'm going to say he's a good coach. I just think he coached in a climate for the last 2 years that was tough, but there were problems with evidently
The
there were
program.
problems
Yeah.
with the program. And I don't even I hate to use the word like culture, kids that want to play for the name on the front because like I still think that kids besides Leal and Galloway wanted to play there, right? Like I still think
Yeah.
there's a lot of dudes that cherished putting on that Hoosier jersey, but at the end of the day, it is a business, and these kids' lives are a business. I couldn't imagine
Mhm.
being in that position from like when you're 18 on. And that definitely gets in the way of it. And I don't see that stopping, right? Like I still think it's only going to progress with kids. They're only going to look at this more and more transactionally, and that's why it's even more important to get dudes like Kenny that can connect, and hopefully they have the ability to take money out, because it's also another thing is like money is kind of no object.
They are absolutely throwing around money, and that's what, like John said, the machine better get to the round of 32 pretty quick, and we'll talk about expectations
John's
in
one
a
of the
little
old
bit.
heads.
But I want to talk about another piece that's going to help the machine, and that's Andrew Vereen. He is the first new head IU athletics trainer for basketball in 40 years.
Like for hoops or for the entire
For hoops.
Okay, he oversees just hoops as the
Yeah,
head
it was
athletic
Gnarl
trainer.
for
It
Garl.
was Tim Garl. Yeah, Tim Garl was there forever, and, I mean, Tim Garl is an all-time great at IU, I mean, he spanned what, like, 6 presidencies damn near? Probably 8
40 years,
it's
4
Probably more.
decades.
it's yeah, freaking wild. And so, I mean, this dude coming in, obviously, he was part of the staff at Drake under Coach D-Rock, and I think having some sort of continuity is important for new coaches, and to be able to establish their own system and communication, I mean, but I don't know if there's that much of effect on it. But I'm happy to have someone new, and I hope that his tenure can go last as long as Tim's did.
I hope
Yeah,
that
as
means
long
a
as
lot of
guys don't get
success.
hurt, I'm happy, He's doing his job. I didn't like you said, he's
Yeah,
a legend, and
exactly.
I didn't really see any like drop off in terms like injuries happen. I don't know. There wasn't like any crazy. I guess it's more like on the weight coach, honestly, is injury prevention. So like, replacing a head
And we
trainer, as
and we
significant
got a
as
new one of those too.
yeah. Thank God. I mean, that's a whole episode, damn near. It's talking about
Oh,
the Cliff
shit, dude.
Marshall era. Anyways, but
Coach Cliff.
yeah, yeah, respect to a legend, and obviously big shoes to fill for the new guy. I don't know what his name is, but yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, last kind of house cleaning item, then we'll jump into the Indiana roster. And I'm not sure who Blankets guy is talking about, which 4-star, if it's Prince Alexander Moody or if it's Ronell Johnson. We're going to talk about him later.
Ooh, yeah,
Don't worry.
Could be Ronell Johnson.
It probably is, because this is the voice of college
like
football. We're having a little bit of a basketball conversation first. I promise we will get to him, because he is a monster. Holy cow! But
Monster.
Indiana basketball finished up its non-con. They added K-State. That's now done. There was like half the fan base melted down over the non-con, which like I don't know. I thought the non-con was fine. I thought the non-con was all right. Like Kansas State, Louisville, Kentucky. Like, what am I missing?
Gonzaga, yeah. I mean, like
do they
at the
play
end of the
Gonzaga?
day. Oh, this year? I thought you were talking about last year.
No, I'm talking about this year.
Marquette and Shy. Yeah, I mean,
Marquette's the one. How are
some
people
good
upset
games,
with that
dude.
non-con? I don't understand why people want
Yeah.
And we'll bring this up later. There was a really interesting argument somebody presented in terms of the football non-con from like a physical therapist perspective, which I'll bring up later. But like, why do we need to like why does it need to be a 30 game conference season damn near? Like why can't we just like have like 5 or 6 games to like gel as a team? Why is that a bad thing?
Yeah, it's like it's year one with the new coach. Like, I don't care what your standards are. Like, this team's gonna need till at least mid-January to gel. At least. At least. So, I mean, the idea that like we should just load it up with Kansas, Duke. Hell, let's play UCLA twice, like fuck it.
Yeah. No,
just
I'm
eliminate the non-con. Just add it. Just
so upset about it.
Why don't we just play 365 days a year? Let's just
this non-conference.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this non-conference debate with IU fans it's every year whatever the coach does, he shouldn't have done. According to
iron
the fans.
sharpens iron. Like, yeah,
every
dude,
single year.
Going to Puerto Rico.
I mean, 2 years ago, Woody was scheduling. We're tired of watching us go get our ass kicked on national TV. Stop scheduling Arizona. And it's like stop scheduling UConn. And it's like, well, what do you want? And they're gonna say, well, we want you to win those games. Well, we weren't winning them. We still were scheduling, right? This is not a bad non-conference, and also
it's like pretty.
You got
average.
a game.
Like, it's pretty like.
It's
good.
a solid slate. It's really not
decent.
Bad.
I mean, I'm just hyped we got Kentucky back on the map, right? Like that's huge for me. I mean, I hate Kentucky more than I hate Purdue, so I'm excited about that. That's a really good non-con game. Obviously, Louisville's a good non-con game. Marquette, that'll be a home game at the UC. Actually, Marquette's got a strong base here, but
that should be a
IU.
home game.
That'll be a home game.
Yeah, Pundit, let's
Hopefully,
go.
it'll be down in Lexington. Yeah, we'll go to that goom for sure. But no, for the most part, the conference thing, it's a back and forth like chicken and the egg. Where whatever we schedule is not good enough or it's not bad enough. And for me, to piggyback off what Goom said, new coach, new system, new players, like new staff, new everything, new vibe, right? New vibe around the program. If you want to build something outside of like what's going on in the locker room, I'm talking buzz, I'm talking around campus. You want to rack up some wins, give this team some confidence to start off, maybe see some threes go in. That'd be pretty cool. See some jump shots go in from 3. That'd be cool. Guess what? When you get a Bethune-Cookman, when you get a fucking Siena or Incarnate Ward, like those guys on the other side of it, they're still hyped as shit to be coming to Assembly Hall. That's still like a marquee game in their career. So it's like what people say about the Garden, right? All NBA away players play better at the Garden because it's like the ultimate show. And we're always wondering every year, like, why is this ginger from Navy absolutely pulling on us right now? Army, whatever. Why is the I don't even remember this kid's name, but
How did
IPFW
drop 95?
No, and it's like because their kids and their teams, whether they suck or not, they come in and we get their best, even when we suck, because it's Assembly Hall, right? And they're not, we saw with the Woodson teams that were flawed and they were, they weren't gelling, right? Especially in the beginning of the last 2 seasons. They were, they were kind of sleepwalking through some of those non-con games and it was pissing people off, rightly so. It takes a moment to gel. I like what Deeves has done with the schedule. I think we got some good ones. I think we got some bad ones. And I think there's going to be some of those shitty teams that probably end up making winning their conference tournament and making the tournament, right? And also, everyone just needs to chill. Like, who fucking cares? You have no saying on the schedule. So guess what? Buy your tickets, put your candies on, and get ready to go. Like, that's all you can do. And so that's kind of how I feel on non-conference.
I think one thing I want to point out about the schedule that's kind of interesting is that, usually they go like about 2 a week. There's a stretch there after the Kansas State game where they get Bethune-Cookman on a Saturday. Their next game is on a Saturday against Louisville. Then that next game, they have a whole week off for Kentucky. Then they get another whole week off after Kentucky to play Chicago State. And then they're kind of back on the two a week grind. So they kind of have some time in that early December area to kind of really figure some things out. if they're, maybe, dropped a couple, to whoever that may be.
100%.
So
And they're going to need
I
it,
really
right?
like how it lines up, and I think it's going to really set them up to be not only better prepared, but also probably healthier going into January where Big Ten play is going to start.
No doubt. I
Oh,
mean,
by the way, that might
takes
be opened up because Big Ten play, low key. Now that I'm thinking about it, because that schedule has not been announced.
whatever.
But
Everyone can ignore
rewind, but
that.
still, I
Ignore
see it
it.
as a big,
Aggregate it and blame Goom later. That's what I.
Yeah. We never blame Goom. That's the rule. Never blame Goom. He's always right.
I mean,
You guys
The fact
are
that I was
wrong.
able to correct myself, though, that's ball knowledge right there. That's what I was saying.
That was
It's
the
ball
that's the
knowledge, it's
fastest
awareness.
fastest stat correction in Indiana Hoosiers live history by far. Right.
Yeah.
You guys have been chomping at the bit to talk about the roster. One of the things that, like, when we were having conversations on the side in our chat, we were talking about bringing Pundit back when the roster was finalized. We were waiting on waiver announcements from Goody and Leal. I'm glad Philip just said something about John Rossi in the chat, because it read my mind. This is exactly where I was going. Watch this transition. I'm going to use John Rothstein to leapfrog into the talk about the roster, but John Rothstein said they're going to be the 15th best team in the Big Ten. I just don't see any way that's possible. So let's use that to break down the roster. First of all, initial thoughts seeing the John Rothstein question, Pundit.
I mean,
Sorry, Goom. Guess go
Guess
first, I
first.
guess.
Guess first.
But, all right. So people are going to be mad at my take about the Rothstein thing. I don't put any water into, what bullshit is a national writer writing about Indiana. I've been a fan too long to fall in that trap, right? Because that gets engagement, first of all. And Rothstein's no idiot. He's a college basketball junkie. He knows what he's doing. But, right, I don't think we're going to be 15th. I don't. I really hope not. I think but I do think we're a lot more likely to be 15th than we are to win the league. So I don't and I'm pretty sure in the article somewhere he stated, until I see it on the court, I don't really know how to feel about this team. That's how I feel too, right? And he's obviously doing something kind of, it's semantic. Putting Indiana at 15th, right? It's what they do. It's what the national media does. They use IU's big name and big following, right? That is one of the major things about IU basketball, is that there are millions of fans, and we're the second biggest graduated living alum. I know we talked about that last pod, but still got to bring it up.
Bring it up again.
Got to bring
it up every time. People forget.
Every single time.
1 million followers on Twitter, Indiana basketball.
Yeah, my reaction was,
go.
I like how you said, it's like engagement. Like every year we're either projected to be third in the Big Ten, or probably nowadays with the mid-major recruits by 15. So, it's all just clickbait, and we fall for it every year. And it's probably one of the big issues with the past, the Woodson era, but that's a whole nother conversation. We bring level recruits, we get, baited by these national writers, putting us, we're going to win the Big Ten. We don't win the Big Ten. Everyone loses their mind. It's just when will it end? But honestly, reacting to that, super fair. If you look at the roster, tons of mid-major guys, tons of question marks. There's not a single guy from last year returning to this team. There is nothing to even project from this team. There's nothing to project.
Hold up.
As of right now.
I'm gonna pause you right there. There was online speculation that a blurry ginger figure did appear in the background of one of the Indiana practice videos. It has not been confirmed or denied whether or not said potential ginger was Luke Goody.
Oh no! Get off your tinfoiled hat. Get off your tinfoiled hat. There's no shot that Goody's getting that waiver. Just the way they built the roster.
Leo's waiver was denied, but I mean, you're right. But they do have a spot. They have a spot.
They do,
but they brought in the 7'3" kid from Spain.
No. Who?
Right? Then they bring
in you're thinking of Luigi Ciugo, the 7'3" Italian.
He won't be coming this year.
His official. No, he's a 2026 kid.
Okay. My bad.
Real quick to answer Philip, Mike Woodson burned up the trust for Indiana basketball with national media this year. Philip, Mike Woodson did not burn up the trust for Indiana national media basketball coverage. We collectively, multiple coaches over 25 years have burned up that trust. And that is what's happened, right? Like, it's fun to report on IU media for them because they still get clicks, and we're kind of a scapegoat program at this point where it's just like, it's smut. They can just shit on us and we can't say shit, and it sucks. But the lack of success in Indiana basketball is for much further than Mike Woodson. It's an institutional, systemic thing, right? Starts with the board of trustees, which shout out Pam Whitten for screwing that up too recently. What an idiot. Um, Nonetheless, I think back to the Rothstein thing, right? Like, I don't think we're gonna finish 15th. I'd put us middle of the pack. I think we're gonna be a borderline tournament team. That's my expectation. I don't hate it though, right? I don't hate his like take on it. Like, take out the number, go read what he said. Three dudes that have legit power conference experience. One of them's Enright, who's like, I don't see him leaping to like a 12-7 guy. Like, I think he's gonna be under 10 points, and he's gonna be a really big energy piece and, play good D and share the ball, but I don't think
Yeah.
he's all Big Ten guy at all, or even
No.
honorable mention. And then, Tucker and Sam Alexis, who also, he didn't get much tick at Florida either. So we have one real guy who's succeeded, exceedingly succeeded in college basketball power conference, and that's Tucker. And I don't have any really doubts about Tucker. He can shoot the rock. He's the coach's kid. He's going to be featured. He's a hell of a scorer. But the rest of the roster, right? Someone said something on Twitter today that I responded to, and it was like, how can he cite us having mid-major when, Iowa has or UCLA has Dent and Iowa has Sturtz? And it's like, because Sturtz and Dent were featured number one options on teams that went and won and upset Power 4 programs in the tournament, period, end of story. It's not that Lamar isn't good, right? Like, Lamar's good, but he played on a 13 and 19 Bowling Green team or
Sam
whatever the fuck
Houston
he went
State.
to. Sam Houston
Bearcats with a
State.
K.
You know what I mean? So, like, there's a big difference between averaging 21 on a team that barely won 13 games and a team that went to the tournament and upset someone. So that'd be my take on it. I don't think people need to overreact to Rothstein. That's what he wants. But that's a little wishful thinking of me to assume sanity from our fan base, right? You throw out a nibble, they're like piranhas. They're
Well,
piranhas.
yeah, I think to your point of Rothstein knowing exactly what he was doing, like, if you sat him down in a room face to face, we're like, do you really think Indiana's the 15th best team in the league? Gun to head, he probably isn't putting them there. But when you have the unknown, we'll call it, then it's like you can kind of play around with it. And it's like, yeah, you go for what's going to drive the most engagement, and Indiana's down right now. Argross says, what's going on? This is supposed to be CFB. Are things that slow with Indiana?
Check. It's
no.
check.
See, here's the thing that people don't understand is that, and I'm going to say this, I'm a football guy. Like, I almost feel out of my depths talking Indiana basketball, given how much history there is in July. But like, in 49 other states, it's just basketball. This is Indiana. Like, it's just, I don't know what else to tell you.
We've been doing football the past 8 weeks.
And we got an hour on football.
We're going to cut out a little 1 hour for basketball.
We have an hour on football too. Don't you worry.
And then we're locked in.
Don't you worry. These guys are multidimensional. That's the great thing about this podcast. They're multidimensional. They don't need to shut up and dribble, right? Like, they can play multiple sports. They go out for the football team. They go out for the basketball team.
Here, I'll give you.
Take a moment though to appreciate the IU fan base being like, "What the fuck are we talking about basketball for? Talk about."
I was thinking that.
Love it.
Let's just appreciate that moment.
No, things aren't slow with Indiana football. I literally released 3,000 words on Indiana football today on vocfb.com. You can go check that out. From purgatory to powerhouse: the rise of Curt Cignetti's Indiana football. That's live now. 3,000 words, Argra. 3,000 words today.
Yeah, go kill some time, It'll check in with us in like 15 minutes,
I promise we're going to talk football. I promise we're going to talk football. I will say this. I will say this because this is like again 49 other states. This is Indiana. I'm like putting basketball completely on the back burner after this week. Like we're going towards media days. That's going to be the 22nd through the 24th, I believe, in Vegas, and then we're like right into fall camp. Like this is full blown football, and we're going to push up to 2-3 shows a week probably during the season. So, Argo, I promise, come back in 15 to 25 minutes, and
Argo, I cannot wait to go to Happy Valley this year.
I'm pumped to go to Happy Valley. Shout out
Shout
to
out
Penn State.
Argraw though. Shout out Argraw.
Shout out
being in the
Argraw, just checking
chat,
it
Penn
out.
State.
We
That's a real
respect
ball. That's someone who's pursuing ball knowledge, and as
You
a
have to
fellow
respect
ball knower, like you have to respect that.
it. 100%.
You have to.
Philip
Shouts.
wants to know what's the show's Big Ten basketball power rankings. I'm going to pull myself away from this because I'm not saying the number one team first.
UCLA, Purdue up there. Illinois is probably gonna be okay.
See, like it's so
everyone else.
hard now.
Michigan's gonna be nasty. Those are probably the top three right there. Everyone
Michigan's
else
another. I mean,
crapshoot.
Luxembourg or what is that? How you pronounce his last name? Yaxel.
Yaxel,
The dude from
Yaxel.
yeah,
they're still gonna be
he's
good.
But other than him, they're not bringing.
They
back
bring
a ton
back
of, like,
Roddy
elite
Gale. They
production.
bring back a couple guys.
It wasn't even a double-digit
Amari
score.
Burnett. Still, dude.
I mean, Purdue's going to be nasty. Purdue's going to be
Continuity.
nasty.
Yeah.
Like
UCLA.
they're going to be so nasty. UCLA is going to be very good. Oregon's going to be good. I mean, they got Biddle and Shellstead back. Those guys killed us
USC might be
last
making
year.
a comeback.
Biddle's back.
Biddle's back. Kwame's back. Yeah, they're looking good. I mean, Michigan State, you can never count them out. Illinois, they got all the itches. Ivisic, Stojakovic, Petrovic, Mirkovic.
Hey, we got a Stitch.
Yeah, I mean, we got to follow them. We got to start getting some of those freaking Serbs or whatever. We got to invade the Balkans and take some of those players because seriously, they're doing something right over there. Obviously, but
dude, the European hoopers are. It's the fundamentals, it's the way they train, it's the people have been claiming for like decades that AAU is ruining the American basketball product, and like you like kind of get side-eyed, and then like you look at the way the European kids are coming up, and it's like holy cow, some of those guys
no doubt.
They're also like 21.
Yeah, I mean, they're also adults, which is again when you can pay for play like 100%. But real quick, closing up the Rothstein thing. 15th, obviously, clickbaity. I think they're the 5th, 6th, 7th best team in the conference right now before I watch them play. But like, I'm not going to put any limitations on this team. Like
Indiana,
what if
they're
they just
top 10?
Like they're going to move the ball really well. They're going to defend the perimeter really well. Like they're not going to have a problem scoring. Like this is going to be a really fun basketball team to watch. And I've said this before. I'll say it again. Like they're a team built for the tournament. Like. Yeah.
I will
volume
say,
scoring from the outside and guard play. Like it's so if they and I think they should be a tournament team based on the amount of money they spent on the roster. And which like that's not a fair way to look at things, but like
it's not a bad way.
When you have a team like Indiana football and you have Kurt Cignetti on one side being like my wallet's getting a little thin and Indiana basketball's got a blank check, like they better make the tournament.
Yeah, okay, I didn't watch any tape on Prince Moody, which, I didn't do my homework, but I did do my homework on this team. And I have some takes about some of the guys that we have. I think DeVries, obviously the incumbent star on this team. Everything's going to be built around him. I hope he gets his 7 to 8 threes a game because he deserves them. He'll probably make 3, 4, 5 of them a game, guaranteed. Just an absolute lights out shooter. He's going to play the 4 this year. That's kind of how I think us going small ball this year is dictated around the idea of Tucker at the 4. I don't think that's something that's going to continue. You see that already recruiting a 7-3 guy from Italy. That's going to potentially come in next year. They're going to get bigger as time goes on, I believe. But this year, I think, it being Tucker's past year, they were top 10 in KenPom defense efficiency with Tucker at the 4, being a 6'7", what I would call a guard, but clearly he has defensive capabilities to play that 4 spot. And then you bring in a guy like Reed Bailey, a scoring 4 that's obviously going to play the 5 in this system, can dribble the rock, pretty good all-around offensive game. His biggest question mark is going to be, can he defend Big Ten 5s? We'll see. We'll see. Probably not. But collectively as a unit, maybe they can. Because Sam Alexis back there is about 6'8", 280 or 240.
280.
240. My bad. No, he's not playing offensive tackle. He's going to play center. He's going to be
He's
backing
in
up
the wrong
Reed Bailey.
sport.
And he's more. He didn't get a whole lot of tick at Florida, but he's more of that bruiser. They had this kid named Hanbury at West Virginia last year. He was the same measurables. So I imagine he's very similar to that type of player that Hanbury was at West Virginia last year. And he was going to come off the bench as the 5. That's the key of the front court. Then you have Connerway and Wilkerson at the 1 and 2. Connerway was at the NBA Combine this past year. I think he can, just based on that, I think he can play in the Big Ten. He was the defensive player of the year, the player of the year in the Sun Belt last year, got them all the way to the tournament. Absolute dog. There's not a lot of guys in the country I'd rather have guarding Braden Smith than Tate Connerway. There's not a whole lot of guys I'd rather take defensively at the point guard position than Tate Connerway. His ability to score at the Big Ten level, I don't know. Wilkerson, on the other hand, will be able to score in the Big Ten. The volume couldn't be really dependent, though. Like you said, comes from a team that didn't win a whole lot. How much will that translate? He can definitely shoot, but will he continue to average 18? I'm not sure. I think 12 to 14 is a little more realistic for him. And then Enright as the backup point guard, kind of a energizer bunny type point guard. Can hit the shot. He's bigger than he looks. He's faster than he looks. He's no chump, is what I'm trying to say. Even though he's a 6'1" white boy, he can shoot it. He has this instinct. He's a really good passer, and he's a grinder. He can play really good defense, and D-Rock trusts him. Everyone else on this roster, I would say, is pretty up in the air. The rest of them are they're mid-major guys. They look good. They look athletic. I'm sure Tucker or D-Rock is a better evaluator than I am. So I'm sure these guys can make it at the Big Ten level. But for me, it kind of remains to be seen. I don't know who's going to start in that 5th spot. Could be Dorn. Could be Josiah Miles.
Yeah, I was going to say, I got a name.
Yeah.
I got Miles.
I'm done with my spew.
You got Miles? I think it's going to be Dorn.
Yeah, I have Dorn written down. It was a tough call, but I took Dorn.
To John's point in the chat saying DeVries is bringing back the hurry, and the Hoosiers says he wants to shoot in the first 10 seconds of the shot clock. Like the way Nick Dorn moves without the ball and can like put himself in positions to score without the ball in his hands, like that is extremely valuable. So, I mean, obviously, like I trust Coach DeVries, and if he ends up going with Miles or somebody else in that starting role, like I completely get it. But like in terms of just ability to score without the ball in his hands, like that's something that was what we were hoping, like, and we saw in spurts from McKenzie and Baco, but it's like that's Nick Dorn's just a 3-point laser off ball playmaker, like something just different.
Let's say we start Dorn. All of a sudden you have 6'3" Connerway, 6'6" Wilkerson, 6'7" Dorn, 6'7" DeVries, and 6'10" Bailey. All of a sudden as a collective, they're kind of
really not that. Yeah, you're not that
they're
small.
kind of big as a collective. Obviously, they don't
I
have
disagree.
that
I disagree.
Okay.
Listen. I'm gonna chime in. I'm gonna rain on the party. I'll be the heel. Okay.
Yeah, do it. That's why you're on.
All right. To touch on Philip's last point, transfer reps tend to need an adjustment period. I could see a rough start to the season. I think rough start might be a little much, but I don't think it's going to be the most fluid ball, and especially on the defensive side of the ball. That's where all of the concerns for my U fans should lie, specifically defensive rebounding. And I know everyone's going to be like, oh, well, our guards rebound. Let me just tell you some of these front lines we're going to go against, right? Yaxel Lundenberg and Merez Johnson.
And then
Bilodeau and Xavier Booker.
Mara's
Kwame
coming
Evans,
off the bench
Nate
for
Biddle.
Michigan too.
Exactly. Kohler and Cooper. Humrichas and Novicic. Rapp and Winter. You think about Somerville, Beast. You think about who's got another one? I mean, I look at it, right? And I look at it like, oh, we're going to play Tucker at the 4 and Reed at the 5. If Tucker is going to try to guard any of those 4s I just mentioned, Yaxel, TKR, right? Bilodeau, Kwame, Kohler, Humrichhouse, he's not. right? Like that dude, like he just can't guard them. Like I've watched Tucker DeVries play basketball forever. I'm not saying he's a complete liability, but he's not the most athletic kid, and he's not the biggest kid, and he's definitely not the strongest kid. So like this is the Big Ten at the end of the day, right? My concerns lie in the roster construction of not having another big other than Reed, really.
And Alexis is
and
a bit. He's a true 5, even though he's 6'8".
I mean, no, that's fair. And John, I get what you're saying, bud. We can't just roll over Ken Palm numbers from a completely different program with completely different roster and completely different context. So while Ken Palm can be good, I'm not saying that DeVries isn't a defensive coach. Like he's clearly found success. What I'm saying is it's all relative. This is not whatever. Like this is not Drake. This is not West Virginia. We're going to be playing very strong teams in a long Big Ten season, and that's the other thing, right? I worry about the durability. I really do.
100%.
I worry about the durability. John, West Virginia didn't go to the tournament last year, so I appreciate your staunch supporting of them, but like new staff, new squad, yeah, they didn't go to the tournament. So your point is pretty moot. Next. Sorry, John. I've had a rough day at work.
John's our guy. But this
we
is
love you,
Pundit.
John.
We let Pundit off the leash, so just beware. I think you make a really good point. Obviously, like just think about Merez Johnson, Landenberg at Michigan, and Purdue's going to have a great front court as always. And you mentioned Book.
I mean, how do we beat Purdue?
Those are
this is our roster,
but all of a sudden, Bilodeau has to guard DeVries out in the wing. All of a sudden, Landenberg
wrong,
could
John.
probably do it, but a lot of other
shit.
teams are gonna have trouble doing
there's an orange John and a blue John.
Oh my!
I know. I saw that. Wrong, John.
Oh no, blue John's our guy. This orange John's new, but he's cool too.
He could be our guy too.
No, thanks for being here, Johns. I mean, either way, we like the support, and at the end of the day, we're all on the same team, right? And I think that's something that gets lost in the sauce, especially once the season starts. But I'm gonna be a realist, right? I want to beat Purdue, and I want to compete with Purdue every year. This roster, if you look at it, I'm just saying, like, not to be the Rothstein in the room, but like, there's no path to victory. There's legitimately no path to victory at all.
I don't necessarily agree with that. And we didn't we haven't talked about Sisley at all.
Clipped.
We haven't talked about Sisley at all.
I love Trent. I love Trent so much, dude. Like, he is probably the player I'm most excited about, right? Like, obviously there's the Wilkersons, obviously Connerway, and then Tucker. But like, Trent, I think, could be a solid player. He's so fundamentally solid, and he has a great feel. And I've probably watched more Trent Sisley basketball. The only other high school player I've watched as much as Trent Sisley is JHS and Derek Queen. Like, and that's good company to be in, right? Like, that kid can play, of course, all Montverde kids, because Mike Woodson had the Montverde big man factory going. But like, nonetheless, I'm excited about Trent. I still think like people just need to understand the adjustment period, and whether that's staff, whether that's culture, whether that's individual players, whether that's physicality, whether that's mental, they all are transferring up. Like, they are. And this is not, when things get tough here, this is not like Drake, right? Like, this is not even West Virginia. This is Indiana. And the walls can close real quick, whether you're a coach, whether you're a player, especially if you're a player. And we've seen players talk about it in the past. We've seen players transfer out. I think we got a lot of guys that want to be here, which is a good start. But the roster construction for me, I would have liked us to grab another big. I would have, someone that they rebound, right? Like, we didn't prioritize a real rebounder at any level. I would have liked to just get some galoof big that can come in and give us like 10 minutes and 8 boards and foul 5 times, and just like, like, just to have. Just like, or like a James Johnson, like, not even a big, like, just have him on the bench to scare people. Like, yo, if you touch Tucker, like, this dude's going to come and beat your ass. But nonetheless, I don't hate the roster, right? We are going to score a lot of points. We're going to hit a lot of threes. We're going to move the ball well. I think it's a crowd pleaser, but that is also what worries me. I do not want to appease the Hurricane Hoosier crowd. While I do want the Hurricane Hoosiers back, I think the people that are like, oh, we need this style of basketball or that style of basketball, I think they're usually like misguided a little. All I want is winning style of basketball, which every game is different. And that's where I trust Coach DeVries, honestly. It's game prep, it's film, it's strategy. Clearly, he's maximized talent at smaller schools. So that's where I'm looking at, right? Because like the roster building, I don't think anyone should be like out there singing in the streets about this roster personally.
Yeah,
I
that's why
don't
we're
hate it,
15th in
but it's
roster.
exactly. I think it's like a top 10 roster, like a borderline top 10 roster in the Big Ten. Because you look at some of these other players, bro, like they're legit. Like even like Northwestern has like Martinelli coming back. Like that dude's a fucking problem. You can win games even if you're outmatched with Martinelli because he's so slippery. He's so
Top 5 scorer in
smooth.
the
He
Big Ten
draws
coming back
fast.
next year. For
I mean,
sure.
was he first team Big Ten all last year? First team all Big Ten?
Should have been. If
He
he's
was
probably
either first or
team
second,
because
I
they didn't win
remember.
enough, but yeah. He was
I
putting up
mean,
first
so
team
like,
numbers.
and that's from Northwestern, right? Like that's not even to mention the whole Purdue squad that's been to a natty. They've been deep in the tournament. Like they've won what? How many Big Tens has Braden won? Is he 3 of 3? I guess they didn't. Wait,
They
what's
didn't win
Philip
it
saying?
last year. He's 2 of 3.
Philip, I think that's a good question, and I think you're thinking the right way, right? Because consistent Big Ten contender, I think that should be the goal. And I think that plan for Coach Deves is probably like, you know, after the second season, we should be looking like we are a top 5 to 3 Big Ten program, right? First season, adjustment period. I hope we make the tournament. I wouldn't be shocked if we're on the bubble again. Season after, right? Like you've had a full season to be at IU. These are your own recruits. You should be competitive, right? Like you should be competing for a top 7, 6 seed. Third season, top 5, right, in the Big Ten, probably like a 4 seed, something like that. Like I look at it as incremental. Do I want things to change faster? Yes. Obviously, everyone points to Sig. He's right across the parking lot. I get it. It's the sooner people understand that Coach DeVries is the opposite of Signetti, the better. You can look at like, oh, he's a mid-major guy. Oh, he found success. No, Coach Sig is a different beast, period. Half the Coach Sig success comes from the fact that he's out there talking shit, firing people up. Like he literally lives, breathes, and speaks everything with confidence, right? Like Coach Sig is Coach Sig. Coach Deves is awkward, kinda cool. He's a basketball nerd, which isn't a bad thing, but the sooner the comparisons stop, the better, right? Like, I think it does our team a disservice.
Mm-hmm.
I think the comparisons in some places are warranted. Like you look at the way the roster was constructed, it was a lot of like all conference guys from group of 5. So it's like that's right in front of people's faces. But to expect a Coach Sig-esque turnaround like that's just, these things don't happen. And like we'll get into it a little later with football, with like calling Illinois the next Indiana, and it's just like to understand how bad
Don't get me started.
Indiana was to how good they became. Like Indiana basketball is nowhere near how bad Indiana football was. Like maybe during the season where like the team won 6 games and it was like, holy cow, like what the hell are we doing here, fellas? Like we can't be a single digit win team. Like that might have been a better like comparison, but like Indiana was a fringe tournament team last year.
Yeah,
Exactly.
And spent money last year. Like money wasn't the issue, and spent a ton of money again this year.
No,
So actually, when you look
exactly.
at it in that regard, it's like I'm also not going to discount the fact that this is Tucker DeVries' last year of college basketball, and it's the last time his dad, like hypothetically, that his dad gets to coach him. Like I would have a hard time believing that they purposefully put together a team they didn't believe could compete. And
I mean, they're very senior heavy, which means they're trying to win now. But will they be able to anticipate the ruggedness of the Big Ten is the biggest question. And just looking at it, I mentioned the 3 guys on the front line. There's 2 others. There's Josh Harris and Trent Sisley. The most we can get out of them, the better, because they need minutes at the 4 so DeVries can play the 5. And if they can guard, you mentioned those front courts, you see Sisley as a 3 or a 4.
You want DeVries at the 5?
No, at the 3.
You said the 5. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
That's why. That's
We
why
can
I was
bump
like,
him up to the 3. All right, my bad. All right, and then I
Lot of mistakes today, Brad. Lot of mistakes.
We'll clean it up in film with Sig. We always chop it up afterwards.
I bring your game down. I know I do. It's okay.
No way. But like I was saying, like Josh Harris and Trent Sisley, two younger guys. Josh Harris is a sophomore from North Florida transfer. Trent Sisley, obviously the big time 4-star freshman from Montverde. We're bringing in the most production we can get from them, being able to get minutes, and they got to earn them too. Like there's 8 solid. I always talk about how going into the tournament, it's pretty much like an 8-man rotation, and it kind of like, if I had to guess right now, like the bench would be Enright, Miles, and Alexis, with Dorn starting. So it kind of leaves Harris and Sisley out. So if they can like step up and become some of those guys, obviously there's Jason Drake, who's another guard that we have that I think can be really productive. But the most we can get out of those two, I think will be.
Well, you didn't even mention Ristich, who's now
Ristich is
on the
new
roster
guy we
for
brought
this
in.
year.
He's the one guy I haven't watched too much film on because that commitment was today while I was at work. So I didn't get
I don't know much about Ristich.
But I have him slotted at my backup shooting guard right now because my point guards are Connor Way, Enright, and then Jason Drake. I imagine Jason Drake's probably more in line to get more minutes than Ristich, just being an older guy. But,
I think the beautiful thing about this roster,
like 20, 21.
I think he's a little more experienced.
Yeah,
because he played FIBA. I think he's probably 20. I know he played U20s FIBA last year, I want to say. But the beautiful thing about this roster is, in my opinion, it's a bunch of like no one sticks out other than the obvious ones, right? Like Tucker and Wilkerson for me, and like Connerway to some extent. But like outside of that, obviously Bailey's his own thing. It's going to be a competitive ass summer for these kids, right? Like it's going to be a lot of dudes competing for minutes, competing for spots, and that's going to make everyone better, and it's going to make us deeper, and it's going to give Coach D-Rock more options going into the year for sure. And you want to see that lineup flexibility, right? Like you want to have dudes that can come in and just it's plug and play. So I like that is the one thing I know I mentioned that I didn't like.
No wasted scholarships.
It's the one thing. No, dude, I like Dallas James. Come on.
Brad has a personal vendetta against him. I don't know what Dallas James did
Dude,
or
Dallas
said.
James
Or
Brad. The idea of Dallas James, the wasted scholarship, the third 7-footer. Like, what are we doing? Like, come on.
Get a guy Dallas James for president. That is the GOAT. That is the absolute GOAT. Probably better than TJD, to be honest. But no, I think it's a good mix of veterans. I think it's a good mix of, some young guys that'll be able to push for spots, right? Like I like the fact that Sisley has an opportunity to play that stretch 4. I remember I got in an argument last year with someone on Twitter. They're like, he's a guard. And it's like, no, you're stupid. You're very like you see a white kid that can shoot doesn't mean he's a guard, right?
He's
Trent
a college
Sisley
4-3 maybe.
Exactly. He's a slow 3. So what does that make him? A college 4. Exactly. So exactly, right? But what do we do with Mbaka? Yeah, if Woodson had Sisley, he'd probably be playing at the guard spot. But that's a different story. That's a different story. I mean, he's the fucking 4 or 5 by committee on this roster, just off of the fact that he's long and might be able to grab some boards for us. I do worry about the board aspect, but nonetheless, it's early, right? We're gonna learn more about these guys as the summer goes on. I like how tight-lipped things have been from the camp. Not that Woody's wasn't. They did a good job too of kind of keeping things in house, but I don't want them being impacted by outside factors. I don't want them being impacted by the system that has stifled us for 20 years, right? Because we can blame it on all the different coaches. We can blame it on firing Korean too early. We can blame it on the players. At the end of the day, there's one common theme. And, it's the IU administration and the board of trustees and their involvement with our program. And I think no matter what side of the aisle you're on as IU fans, I think everyone kind of agrees on the bureaucratic nature of IU. It's a bonus, right? We get a bunch of money, but then there's a lot of impact and there's a lot of voice that comes from those guys that give money. And it shouldn't be I'll give you money, but I have to have your ear type of thing, right? It should be oh, I have an excess of money. I get the $2,000 a pop courtside tickets. I get a wing under my name. I get to go in the skybox, whatever it is. Like that's what you get for donating. You don't get to coach the team. You don't get to pick the players. And I know that happened a lot last year, from what I had heard from a few sources within the program, where middle of the year, you know, there clearly needed to be changes made in the roster and in the lineup, and there was some hindrance on Woody's ability to do that because of the cost justification of a Miles Rice, of a Cannon Carlisle, right? Like
Mhm.
that's crazy. So I think there's a lot of unknowns. I'm excited, nonetheless. I think everyone's excited, and I think people kind of fall into the trap of like, since it's opposite style of Woody, it means it'll be good because Woody's style was bad, and that's why we were bad. And you know what I mean? Like I think the
Yep.
opposite nature, the dichotomy between them, I think it creates like this, oh, like now we're gonna be good, right? Because it's so opposite. I don't want people to think that way. I wanna get to February without a fucking major meltdown and be trending. And like, can we just get to February this year without sabotaging from our side? That's all we can control, right? We can't control what goes on the court. They control that. Nonetheless, I hope we have some leaders, right? I hope we have some leaders in that locker room that understand what it's like to play IU ball and understand like the magnitude of that, because and this isn't a tea podcast, but I've heard some stories about a few of our best players, and I don't know if Keys and Goom, you want me to speak on that, and I won't get too
No,
far into it.
no.
Nah, we won't speak
If
on it.
it's negative, I don't want to talk about it. To be
It's not
fair,
even
and, like,
negative. I don't think we should talk. I'll talk about it off camera with you guys because I forgot to talk about this. But nonetheless, Bloomington's a fun place. Can be too fun, right? Can be too fun. And
in there,
been there, right? Took
Oh,
me.
in there.
I took an extra semester, folks. That's right, Coach Pundit, extra semester.
he loved Bloomington
So
I mean,
so
there were
much.
circumstances. There were circumstances.
there was an injury circumstance, but nonetheless, I was happy
Bro.
to be there. But no, I'm excited. I hope the kids are having fun too. It seems, like when you see them bond off the court and start to accept Bloomington and understand it's a fucking awesome place to like represent, and like you're an Indiana basketball player, whether you guys suck or not, like every single where you go, you're getting looks like you're like LeBron, bro. Like truly, there are kids that live in that city during the summer, like the natives of Bloomington come out to Bloomington a lot more than like when we would be there for school, and like it's their town. And these players mean a lot to that town, and I hope they understand that. And it seems like Prince does, right? Like he's doing a good job, but obviously he's not there this year, and we need some veteran leadership that we kind of lacked on the last few ball clubs as well. In my opinion, I think that was one of the major things last year was like who are our veterans? Galloway, Leal, like I love Trey Galloway.
Goody.
Good news.
Goody was the
Good
biggest
news. We have
Goody was the
six-
biggest leader.
We have
There
six
was-
seniors and 3 juniors, so that's the good
There was
news
an
about
awesome.
that.
There was an awesome Luke Goody, Raphael Davis story from like 2 or 3 weeks ago, where like Goody made a huge donation
I saw
to
that in
charity
Fort
and
Wayne.
didn't even want like credit for it. So shout out to Luke Goody.
100%. Shout out Goody. He was our biggest leader last year for sure.
Yeah.
Need another Luke Goody.
Who did he tell us? Was it Dockich? He told to stick it and then went and had like 28.
Yeah.
That was sick.
Chat. Can I get a fuck Dan Dockich in the chat real quick?
Before we wrap up basketball here.
Yeah.
Pundit, I know you said
He was my number 1 to coach IU after Woodson, actually. Dan Dockich.
Mine was Adam Howard, personally.
Oh, really? Okay.
Come on. Come on. Pundit, I know you said you were iffy on how much time you had after the hour. Are you sticking with us through football, or are you hopping?
I'll stick with you guys for a little and listen and see if there's anything for me to jump in on. I might say goodbye halfway through, but I'd love to stick around.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Have
I love
fun.
it.
Stay a while.
I hope Blanket Sky is still around.
Blankets guy, you there? Give me a holler. We're doing it. We're doing the damn thing.
Well, he's got a little bit of a runway because I'll go chronologically.
He's probably reading your article. That's probably what he's doing.
That was G-Raw or what, Graw or anyway.
Graw, I hope he's still there. Graw, give me a nod. Give me a nod.
It does feel like once a week or twice a week we're getting new commitments when it comes to Indiana football. The staff does not slow down on the trail at all. That didn't change in this past week. Walker Bryson, slot athlete out of Rabun Gap, Georgia, committed to the Hoosiers. In his huddle, he played slot, he played H-back, he played wildcat quarterback, he played running back, and he returned punts and kicks. And he has got some serious juice as well. So, Brad, did you get a chance to watch Walker Bryson's tape?
I really like Walker Bryson. He's kind of that Davion Chandler, can do it all. Like, he projects like 6 foot 180 track speed. So obviously I'm thinking X or Z, but at the same time, like, you're watching him run routes, it's like, man, you can put this guy inside, you can put him outside, you can kind of do a whole lot with him. So really like the commitment. Also played at a high level in Georgia and super productive. So all good signs there. And I think we might find a diamond in the rough here with Walker Bryson. Really excited about him. He's going to be a big time playmaker, and kind of the mold of what they look for at receivers is based on the recruiting. Like, very similar to Miles Kendrick in ways. LeBron Bond's kind of its own beast, but like very similar to Chandler, very similar to Kendrick. And yeah, just a super fast. Track speed. White boy. Love it.
Well, it addresses a sneaky need for the team too, because one of the things that they haven't had coming in was this like real like lightning bolt ability returning kicks. Like Miles Price was awesome returning punts last year. I'm not sure who's scheduled to return punts this year. Brad, I'm going to give you a run.
About that.
I know I'm going to give you a runway for your depth chart a little bit later. But the ability to return punts and kicks and to do it with juice is something that, like, we really haven't seen that kind of element. Like, Solomon Van Horst returns all the kicks for Indiana. I don't even think he took one out of the end zone last year. I think he just fair caught every single ball.
He returned 5 last year, 5 kicks.
So like they were just like, we'll take the ball in the 25 and move on. So to be able to have somebody back there that can potentially take the ball to the house, love it. And then like the gadget plays and the ability to line up all over the field, it's like football player.
Yeah, really good football player. Georgia, just dominant in his league, and yeah, one of those diamonds in the rough. I haven't I never checked his offer list. I feel like
you say diamonds in the rough, but you look at where he's ranked in terms of 24/7. I think he's like the 3rd or 4th highest rated kid in the class. Like, he's legit.
Oh, okay.
Like, he's real legit. Okay. Like, borderline 4-star. Like, he's another one of those guys. It's funny. I sent the article I wrote today in a bunch of different group chats, and shout out to Vogue. But he was like, does it feel like we're like, should we have more 4-stars? And like, if you look at the recruiting class, like there's like 4, 5, 6 guys that are fringe 3, 4 stars that you could easily argue should already be 4 stars and will probably play their way there this year.
He's projected as a safety
which is untrue. He was recruited by Mike Shanahan. He's absolutely playing wide receiver.
Yeah, he's playing wide receiver just based on the film I was watching. I'm looking for his
huddle
list.
did not have a single snap of him at defensive back. Pundit, you got any thoughts on Walker Bryson?
I've not looked into him, but I'll take your guys' word on it. I think we're getting the next Cooper DeJean, from what I heard. Maybe on offense, whatever.
Yeah,
Cooper
offensive
Cup.
Cooper DeJean.
Quick little run
guys.
Through. Power four offers for Walker Bryson: Wake Forest, North Carolina, Duke, Kansas, Kansas State, Miami, Minnesota, Oregon State, Pitt, Rutgers, Syracuse, Tennessee, USF, Vanderbilt, Virginia Tech, West Virginia.
I heard a lot of SEC schools.
I think a lot of teams wanted them.
The one that stood out to me though was North Carolina, because who's the head man over there in North Carolina, Brad?
Bill.
And what is Bill good at?
Evaluating receivers and playmakers.
Young ladies.
Diamonds in the rough.
Oh, hey, oh.
He's a ladies' man.
All right, hold on. We can sidebar real quick on North Carolina. That like Pablo Torre, like Bill Belichick deep dive thing was nuts, and I'm actually kind of worried about their season. It could be a complete dumpster fire, or it could just be Bill Belichick. I'm leaning dumpster fire, and I'm definitely gonna be paying attention.
John,
I'm hoping it's not a dumpster fire. I'm hoping that's just smoke screen and it goes really
I think
well, 'cause
it's
that'd
gonna
fun
be
to have
I
them.
think there's gonna be a 30 for 30. Like I think there's gonna be a 30 for 30 15 years from now about the 24-year-old girl who ran UNC's football program into the ground in 1 year. Like I think it's gonna be unreal. It's an unreal story. It really is. Like
the fact that that's actually in play, like that you didn't just make that up. That's like in play is insane.
it's funny. Thank God it's not us. It always could be worse, folks.
Thank God it's not us.
Keezer, what did I tell you when Bill Belichick got hired as the head coach of North Carolina?
I don't remember.
I said they're going to be a perennial 8-4 team, and I still stand by that.
Oh, you did say that.
Yeah.
He's got Jim Mora written all over him for you.
They just have
lucky they play in the
have
ACC.
8-4 written all over them every year. They're going to have like good players, but they're just 8-4, 8-4. They're going to be well coached to a point. Like how much does Bill care? I don't know.
He doesn't care that dude. He's gonna be macking on their girlfriends, bro.
He's won 7 Super Bowls. He gives a fuck about playing Cal on the road. Like, you kidding me?
No,
Are you kidding me?
no,
right
dude.
now?
You don't think a matchup with Ron Rivera fires him up?
Oh man, I mean, I shouldn't be taking a shot at Cal of all teams, considering what we did to them. But
We love Cal. We love Cal.
Yeah, we love
Shout out to
Cal.
Fernando Mendoza.
We gotta have some calamoni payments to make. Words
Calamoni.
Calamoni.
What was it called? What was the didn't we there wasn't there like a Twitter like agreement with the Cal fan? The Calgorithm. Calgorithm.
They went nuts for game day. It was good stuff out there.
By the way, John says Tim Wilbur's the best punt returner of all time. I disagree. I think it's Jalen Lucas. He played at IU.
He played
a couple years
Randy
ago.
Whitman at Ben Davis. That's insane.
John, great pull.
Hell of a pull, John.
I'm gonna go with Jalen Lucas. There's just no way you can convince me otherwise. That guy, probably one of the better punt return people I've seen play college football, to be honest. And it's a shame what happened to his career. Transferring, he should have stayed. Shouldn't have gone to Florida State, man.
The grass isn't always greener.
Grass is not always greener.
Real quick before we hop into Ronell Johnson, there was some very funny tweets going around from an Ohio State account that I can't remember the name of, but like it was the picture of Indiana's new turf, which looks gorgeous, and was like, I can't believe Indiana has better turf than we do. And then he was flaming all the Ohio State fans in the comments who were either disagreeing with him or saying it didn't matter because they won a championship. It was the funniest 5 minutes I spent yesterday or 2 days ago. It was very funny.
Dude, Indiana football has motion. We have motion now, and people need to understand that. They're talking about our turf, bro. That's how much motion we have. Ohio State tweets about our turf.
They're so scared. Like they don't want to admit how scared they are. Like in the Twitterverse, the Big Ten Twitterverse, the Big Ten football Twitterverse. That is. They don't want to admit how scared they are. They're just kind of like, oh yeah, Indiana's they're probably gonna be decent, like they just don't want to admit that like we're the rising superpower in college football.
I'm gonna put a pin on the Ohio State Twitter sphere conversation because I'm coming right back to it after we talk about Ronell Johnson, edge from Blue Springs, Missouri. Committed over the weekend, almost seemingly out of nowhere. They beat out Mizzou, who is a heavy favorite. Kansas State was also in the mix. I believe Jamie Jordan was the one who pointed this out, but they basically went into the Lions' den for him. And like he visited Missouri and he visited Ole Miss after he took his Indiana visit. So there's plenty of opportunity for other schools to kind of get in there and give their pitch. And holy cow, this kid's huddle is ridiculous. Like effort, physicality, size, speed,
good
just
recruiting
like
weeks.
Holy cow.
We've been having some good recruiting weeks. This might be my favorite, just between him and Walker Bryson. Like this guy, he's a top 100 recruit on Rivals, legit 4-star on the tape, just legit. Can come in. I could see him coming in and playing snaps early. This is a guy, he's already 6'4", 260. He can come in and he screams D end to me. I don't think they're going to beef him up going inside. I think he can play on the D end. As soon as he steps on the spring, I mean, I'm looking at the senior heavy D line, Wyatt, Wheeler, Kamara, Ratcliffe, Daly, they're all gone next year. Like all of a sudden it's like in Duke, Wade, Tucker, Landino, like who says Ronell Johnson can't be the a true freshman starter on that team next year, obviously depending on what they do in the portal. But I mean, he's special.
This guy is
Oregon offer, Oklahoma offer. I mean, we're talking Dan Lanning, Brent Venables wanted this guy. Like he has their stamp of approval. I'm all about it. I mean, this guy, freakazoid, 6'4", 260, legit edge. He's going to play that stud or that big end dependent. I really don't see too much of a difference in those spots, but in terms of how they operate, but in terms of like just like a skill wise, you know, he's a true DN, and I could see him playing pretty immediately. And I haven't really said that about too many of our commitments over the past. I think I've only really said that about Baldwin and Chandler. I haven't really said that about anyone in this class, maybe besides, I mean, Timmons when he was committed. I was probably saying that, but even we're loaded at DB, so like it's pretty hard for him. He actually has a great opportunity to play pretty early for IU, which is great. You know, you get production from freshmen and sophomores. It's just building blocks for your program for the next 2 or 3 years.
He's like the kid you watch on Huddle, and you're like his first play is like they don't exactly like point out who he is, and so you're watching both ends, and you're like, man, I really hope it's that one. And then you figure out he's number 10, and he just looks like a cartoon character on the football field. It's like,
yeah,
actually insane.
Yeah,
actually,
what is already a loaded D-line room. Like John makes a great point. Got a lot of young guys. You know, I'm really high on Kyler Garcia as more of an interior guy. I could see him playing big time snaps this year, next year.
Shout out to Kyler Garcia. CFB 26 mutilated his. It looks nothing like Kyler Garcia. Poor kid. It does not look anything like him
on the EA roster.
We're gonna get to that, but I do. You, Pundit, you got anything on Ronell Johnson?
Dog, just an absolute dog. You know, like
book it. Dog.
It has just changed so much over the last 5 years, 10 years, really, in Bloomington and Memorial. Like the fact that we're getting commits over Oregon that are like 6'4", absolute specimens. It's ridiculous, right? Like it's tangible change in front of your face, and it's rare. And getting commits like that, especially at Indiana, like that's never happened before, ever. And I mean, the kid's a dog. He's gonna be a junkyard dog. I can't wait to watch him. I'm stoked, dude. I mean, I'm really stoked about the way that SIG's going about recruiting right now.
Yeah, it's extremely exciting. And if you're like one of the like a fan of a different team, if you're Argraw and you're kind of wondering where the hell Indiana came from, again, vocfb.com, Purgatory to Powerhouse, the rise of Kurt Cignetti's Indiana football. That's today. That captures essentially what happened last year and how we got here. But Brad, you reached out. You were very excited about this. You redid your entire depth chart. Coincidentally, somebody else commented back on an old video of Indiana Hoosiers Live, basically saying, like, when are we going to get an updated depth chart look? So I figured the floor is yours. Yeah.
What the people want? Wow.
It's what the people are asking. So
amazing.
The floor is yours, Brad.
What exactly do they want to know? I mean, I guess we could start at punt returner, you know. It's actually not even on the depth chart, but I was just kind of visualizing in my head, like, who do I see returning punts? And if you've ever listened to this show, you know I hate the concept of DBs returning punts. I just can't stand it. They can return kicks, I think, but returning punts, like that is a skill position job. Wide receiver, maybe running back. Who am I eyeing up? Mekhi Jackson. Big yak guy. We brought him in. I've been saying we're going to use him a lot in the screen game. I could see him returning kicks. I could see LeBron Bond returning kicks. I could see Jonathan Brady returning kicks. I could even see Davion Chandler returning kicks. But something about the senior, you know, Mekhi Jackson, playmaking type receiver, big yak guy. That's like his whole thing. You get him the ball in space, he gets a first down. That's what he does. I like him returning kicks this year. Mekhi Jackson. That's my pick. But like, I mean, what do you want to know? That. Like, what are your biggest questions about like the depth chart? I mean, I'll go to the chat.
No, I mean, me and you have been staring at the same depth chart for 3 months.
I've been staring at this thing for 2 weeks.
I just wanted to give you an opportunity to kind of explain. I mean, honestly, I kind of want to see where. I guess I'll say this: where's your head at with the defensive line? Like, how deep are you? Are you 3 deep at this point?
in terms of like playable guys, we're at two, a legit two. I love our two deep. I love it. I got Kellen Wyatt at the other DN with bookend with Kamara, and then Wheeler and Tucker inside. Daly, Landino, Ratcliffe, and Dukeway. I mean, that is just that too. That second string just looks really. Ratcliffe's listed on Phil Steele's draft eligible guys, and Dukeway and Landino, by the way, got absolutely shelled by NCAA. They're gonna get rating updates this year. I'm telling you,
100%. Those are so
Daly,
disrespectful.
then Daly's like one of the more hyped up, transfer add-ins that we brought in, and him and Wyatt
Often
are kind
prime
of
5-star.
they're probably just going to split reps there. Like honestly, putting Wyatt at 1, that's more so he's from Maryland. Daly's from Kent State. I really see that spot as like they're kind of splitting reps there, specifically. So like, and then obviously Ratcliffe's going to mix in a good bit with Wheeler and Tucker. So then, as much as we can get from Landino and Dukeway, and then I'm kind of eyeing Turvey's not going to get legit minutes, but he's good depth to have at my 3 string. And then there's Jamari Monette, Kyler Garcia, like interior D tackle goes 3 deep, legit. Assuming Kyler Garcia is what we think he is, legit 2 deep. Still, I have question marks around, DePepe. When we do our fall camp preview, I'll probably re-say these things again, but DePepe, the brothers, Calhoun, Burris, Abram, like what are they going to do? How much damage can they make on the depth chart in fall camp this year? That should be their objective. Like, how many snaps can I get? Can I just be an absolute menace on scout team and just wreak havoc? And maybe I get some, 1 or 2 reps with the actual defense. We'll see. But yeah, so much depth at D, especially at DN. Like just assuming in Dukeway. I mean, there's a chance like in Dukeway isn't what we think, and there's a different guy that maybe steps up. But I'm putting my chips on in Dukeway just because we've been on him for a long time, and he blocked a punt last year. I mean, he's been up. He changed his number to 17. That's always a good sign when you go from 91 to 17 after your freshman sophomore year. So he clearly is anticipating playing a lot this year, changing that number. So I like it. I'll be curious to see how much production we actually get from those guys. And Dukeway's a freak. I cannot believe at least someone at EA Sports wasn't like hip to this idea, this concept of in Dukeway. I couldn't believe it.
Well, they don't. I mean, I'll hold off. I want to talk about the more like actual news stuff from college football this week before we hop into the video game because I think that's a good spot to end with.
Real quick, fellas, I want to say thanks for having me on. I got to jump.
Appreciate you, Pundit.
Support these guys. They know what they're talking about. Be at practice tomorrow, 6 a.m., boys. Sharp. Don't be late.
No. I mean,
peace.
Thanks, Pundit.
Yeah.
D-line, studs. Probably like, you look at that 2 deep. Like, I think when I made this roster, I told you the whole 2 deep on defense. Just word of the day from last week. They're just loaded. They just, the depth it's way better than it was going into last year, which is scary to think about, I
agree. Where are we here? PK says IU is in the running for the number 1 defensive lineman in 2027. That is true. And the class of 2027, we're going to start seeing some smoke on that soon. Showtime Sales, obviously, we've been following his recruitment very closely. He tweeted out something along the lines of like, I'm not ready to make a decision yet, but like my top 10 might be coming sooner rather than later because there's programs showing love or whatever he said. So it's like, obviously, when you see something like that happen, it's like, that would be an awesome kid to start the class of 2027 with. But yeah, they're building a lot of like really, really strong momentum for that class. And something that Brad and I have been talking about kind of like between the two of us is like, it looked like for a period of time there that like the 2026 class was going to be the one that like they put a couple 5 stars in and nationally people are like, holy cow, look at that class. And that's not to say that the class of 2026 isn't stacked. Like there's a lot of talent coming in this class. Like super
bringing in 60 linemen next year.
But the class of 2027 has that class has the opportunity to potentially be the best class that we've seen at Indiana. So obviously it's pretty premature for that. But you look at a couple of the guys that they're starting to pop up with, and like Jamison Purcell, another guy who's working out in an Indiana shirt, lefty quarterback from Illinois. I believe. I don't know if he picked up a crystal ball or not. I'm not sure, but it's just a lot of good momentum in the class of 27 already.
Argraw's worried that we threw Tom Allen under the bus, and little does he know, we think Tom Allen walks so Sid can run, and but 9 wins in 3 years, you got to go. It's time to go. It's just how it goes. It's a business. We're gonna start. I don't
Argraw,
think
you would love my article, Argraw. I promise. It's answering every question you have.
I don't think we get this level of buy-in to IU football without seeing those 2 Tom Allen teams, 2019, 2020 in particular, going 8-5 and then 6
I remember
and 2 next year.
Dude, I remember sitting in the back of like a taxi ride out to my apartment in Massachusetts, like selling the dude on Michael Penix in the 2021 Indiana Hoosiers, and I was like, ugh.
Probably one of the biggest, like, no one's going to talk about it, but straight up, like, probably the biggest letdown ever up until Florida State this past year was that 2021 Indiana Hoosiers team. Like, they were bringing back Ty Fry, they brought back Penix, they brought back a number of dudes on a very, like, solid team. It's still, like, looking back, like, kind of fluky a little bit, that 2020 year a little bit, and then bringing that back. And obviously probably the biggest change from that 2020 to 2021 year was Kalen DeBoer leaving, and then Nick Sheridan's calling plays. That's probably something that needs to be said a lot, is that Kalen DeBoer left after 2020 to take the Fresno State head coaching job. Yeah, it's talk about disappointment, man. I don't like talking about that anymore. I lost a lot of money that year. Which freshman wide receiver is supposed to be able to blow the lid off the D? John, phrasing.
All of them.
I would say, all of them have really legit track speed. I'd say Davion Chandler is probably, going to be the star of that group, that freshman class coming in. But LeBron Bond, do not sleep on him getting ticked, just having a slot ability and that just being a need from us, just because with the Tyler Morris injury, really got Brady and Bond are really the only legit slots. I mean, you can mix Coop and Kendrick in there, probably Chandler a little bit, Mekhi Jackson, but in terms of true slots, he's one of 2 guys we have. So everyone else you can kind of put outside. And then
I also think if you remember back to LeBron Bond's commitment, and I don't know how many people caught this, but there was a point where Michigan tried to make a late push for him, like a serious late push. Absolutely stiff-armed. You frozen, Brad?
No, I'm good. I'm just kind of reading the comics. Is oh my god, Penix will start for the Falcons. Yes, Penix will start for the Falcons, and I'm gonna go further. I shouldn't say this, but because Keys is in my fantasy league, but I mean he probably knows. Like I think.
I mean, I drafted Penix in a dynasty league as my QB2. Like I'm in a startup. Like I'm in. Like I can't be more in on Penix.
I'm probably going to make Michael Penix my starting quarterback in fantasy this year. I'm going to try. I think he might win MVP. He just throws the most beautiful ball ever.
He really does.
I've never seen anyone throw a more beautiful ball than Michael Penix. I just have.
He throws the most unbelievable spiral I've ever seen.
and it doesn't make sense in practice. Like all the Falcons guys are like, bro, it's like the most pretty spiral you've ever seen.
He just throws it. He just whips it out there. It's just perfect.
It's insane. Yeah, I'll miss those. I miss Michael Penix. Is 40 touchdowns in play for Mendoza? That's a lot.
That's a lot of touchdowns.
That's a lot.
I don't think so, only because of how effectively they're going to be able to run the ball. They're going to be a 2-dimensional team.
For sure.
30 is easily in play.
100%.
40 would be
what did Rourke get
a
last
lot.
year?
I think he was like 29, but he missed a game.
Yeah, so 30 is We scored a lot of rushing. We scored a lot of rushing touchdowns last year. We scored a lot.
We also scored 77 points against Western Illinois. 30's in play. 30's in play. Like 40 would be a lot.
There's a chance he's coming into the Illinois game with 12 touchdown passes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Like it could happen. It could.
It could happen.
Like
I'm not gonna put a limitation on it. It feels like a big number, but big numbers.
All right, we'll say big numbers. We'll say it's in play. But if he does that, he's winning the Heisman. So it's like
100%. Yeah, oh yeah,
if Mendoza Heisman 40 and Mendoza Heisman's in play. So
40 plus touchdowns. Yeah, plus 6,000 on DraftKings
for sure. Yeah. Not too popular take. Allen equals Crean. Not the worst thing I've ever heard.
It really isn't. I don't like
The difference is
comparing
they
the
should have given
basketball coaches
Crean.
and the football
The
coaches.
thing is, they should have given Crean one more year. Tom Allen, they probably should have never extended him, maybe fired him a year earlier. That's probably the difference. Yeah.
It's the Walt Bell stuff that did it for Tom Allen. Tom Allen probably would still have the Indiana job.
Allen was better than
Bell.
Crean. Different sports, guys. Come on.
Can't
Help.
I'll help you, Brad. No, we're moving on. This is something me and you openly, I'll call it quote unquote speculated about because it's pretty damn obvious what was happening in the moment. But On3 came out with a piece that just pretty much stated Ohio State was watching Indiana's recruiting and coming over the top with more money. And the gist of that paragraph was like, if you're going to copy somebody's homework, like copy Kurt Cignetti's homework, it's a pretty good person to copy. I agree with that statement, but it's also like, yeah, no shit. We knew that's exactly what was happening. Like Cignetti needs to be able to match schools like that financially to be able to compete in these types of recruiting battles because they're not losing based on what the staff is doing. That's not why they're losing these battles. It's strictly coming down to finances.
Mm-hmm.
What did you weren't surprised seeing that come out, were you?
No, that's just how it goes, you know? Like, I've always said this. I think Indiana is going to be, like, one of the golden, like, examples of how to recruit. I don't think paying high school freshmen millions of dollars is sustainable to build a championship team. Because the guy can leave at any time. He can, you know... It's just not a good idea. You want guys that are there to be bought in and want to go to the league. That's what you want. You don't want guys that want money now. You want guys that want money later. And I think that's what Indiana does a good job of doing and selling that vision. And I mean, like we'll still pay you guys, obviously, because that's what everyone's doing. But you know, we have a standard here, and this is what it is. And here's your offer, and yeah, here we go. Off to the race. If you want it, you're in. If you don't, you're out. You know, it's really that simple, and that's kind of what you want when you're trying to build a culture, because that's where Cignetti obviously brings in talent, has an eye for talent, but the key, the sauce, the secret sauce is the culture and the work that they put in day after day, the detail-oriented practices that they have, and just, you know, being super prepared going into practice, have a, you know, mistake-free practice, intense, fast, disciplined, poise, whatever, yada, yada, the whole sig spiel, and yeah, and that's their secret sauce. It's never going to be, obviously, to get to the next level, they're going to have to start getting the 4 and 5 stars. You know, if we're gonna, you know, we keep saying it. Like we all watched the Ohio State Notre Dame game. It's just going to happen at some point, but we can still make progress the way we're still doing things. And yeah, Indiana's going to be better than they were last year, this year, and yeah, they were a playoff team last year, so you can only anticipate, you know, being better than they were last year. You know, they're all of a sudden, you know, I'm anticipating a playoff win this year, and that's the secret sauce. It's not, you know, the X's and O's are great. Like everything's great about the program, but their secret sauce is the player development and the way they practice. That is what makes the Cignetti machine run. As soon as that goes away, you're going to see a drop off from Sig. That's just how it goes. Do I think there's going to be a drop off with Sig? No.
Nope.
No way.
No.
It's just, oh my goodness, that you just don't play. Just look at Donovan McCulley year 1. I mean, everyone saw how that went, and now he's at Michigan, and good for him. Super talented player, but he just was not. I don't think he was. I'm not going to call a kid out, but he probably just wasn't practicing or doing the right things and coming prepared like the other guys were, like a Miles Cross was, or Elijah Surratt or Omar Cooper. He just wasn't doing the same things they were, and they all beat out the incumbent one receiver on the team.
I want to address something that Argra said in the chat here, because it's going to lead us into finally putting to bed the Illinois is the next Indiana argument. He says you guys aren't going to like it very much, but I think Illinois takes that game. I think they continue to get better. Let me put these stats in front of you, and let me see if this changes your opinion. Indiana and Illinois played 5 like opponents in 2024, and Indiana outscored those opponents by 171 combined points, and Illinois outscored those same opponents by 54 points. That's 117-point difference. So if you're telling me that Illinois closed an 117-point gap, essentially
over 4 games, so that's about 30 points a game.
Like, yeah, good luck to you.
And Indiana upgraded basically
Indiana
every position
got better
on their roster. Every position group is better than they were last year. You got All-Americans on D-line, linebacker, DB. You have an improved O-line, bringing in 3 Power 4 transfers, along with the 3 returning starters from a Joe Moore Award-nominated O-line. They bring back their top 2 receivers, including first-team All-Big Ten Elijah Surratt. They bring in a stable of 3 draft-eligible running backs and Roman Hemby, star, and then Kalen Black and Lee Beebe to complement. And then on top of all that, on top of all the supporting cast, they bring in a top 5 transfer from the transfer portal, Fernando Mendoza, the guy they beat out Georgia for. Georgia, the Bulldogs, the ones that repeated like 2 years ago, those guys. They out-recruited that team to bring in the quarterback that they wanted, and now he's going to be suiting up for IU this year. Along with that whole supporting cast, they have the star power to win the Big Ten, those grinder games. I mean, you saw it last year. They have the ability to do it. You saw the Michigan game last year, just grinder of a game. But they just had enough star power on that defense to hold Michigan off. And obviously Michigan didn't have a great offense, but they have the DNA. They've experienced certain things. They played that close game in Michigan last year, so they have that experience. They didn't just blow everyone out and then get blown out by Ohio State and Notre Dame. That would be more of a concern for me if they actually did blow out everyone, where it's like, okay, the team will be different, but in terms of on paper roster personnel, it's an upgrade in every facet. And they went 11-1 and went to the playoff. Yes, the schedule's a little more difficult, but going into last year, it's really not all that different than it was looking at it. We had Washington, Nebraska, Michigan on the schedule. Everyone thought they were going to be 8+ win teams. They weren't. And, now it's Iowa, Illinois, Penn State, and Oregon. And not only do I think we're going to, beat Illinois at home because we're better and we're at home. I think we're going to go to Oregon. I think we're going to get the job done. And I think we're going to be undefeated going into Penn State. Where we face you guys.
I'm killing that Illinois is the next Indiana narrative right now and just never talking about it again. Illinois won 10 fucking games last year. Indiana won 3 games the year before. Like, they're not even on the same planet. Illinois is plus 500 to make the college football playoff right now. Right now.
Justin Beard, I want to comment on yours because every time I think about the Illinois game, it reminds me so much of going into Nebraska last year, where it's like, oh my God, it's going to be a dogfight. Like we were talking about, like we're giving our flowers to Nebraska. We thought they were decent. We saw what they did to Colorado. Just absolutely took them to the woodshed at home. Like we knew they were a good team coming in. We thought it was going to be a dogfight where it was really going to come down to quarterback play at the end. Little did we know, we beat them by 50. So if it's anything like that, that's why Illinois, like, it makes me like every time I try to like going into last year where I thought I was being super trendy, being like, I think Indiana can go 8-4, maybe even 9-3. That'd be the crazy season. Like the crazy season would be us going 9-3, and then all of a sudden we're 11-1. Like it's it's just hard for me to not buy into this team, to be honest. I try to find ways to like find the red flags and find what could be wrong with this, and I'm having a lot of trouble doing that.
Well, here, let me present you another green flag.
Another green. It's like I'm drowning in green flags. It's ridiculous.
I posted the Ocean's 11 "You Think We Need One More" clip the other day when Indiana announced the hiring of Brooks Halsey. He's going to be the assistant director of player personnel. He comes from Tennessee and LSU. He's an LSU alum. He came with about a countless number of good words and recommendations from people all across the industry in different positions, from different teams to people in like the recruiting side of media. Like there was a ton of positive smoke around this hire. And so it's like, you're just looking for reasons to be excited about Indiana football. And it's like, yeah, you're bringing good people like this into the program. and people like make a difference. Like I'm looking at the guys who follow him. It's like it's an important, like it's important to bring people like that into your program, and it's just like another one of those like, yep, green flag for Indiana football. Like we're bringing in guys like that.
From a school that used to get poached by the SEC to a team that poaches the SEC. How the turntables.
How the turntables, Brad.
How the turntables.
The other big thing that happened that kind of got swept under the radar this week was the announcement of the Cream and Crimson Studios. It's a new in-house production arm built to improve video board shows and event streams. That's huge. If Indiana had something like this set up previously, like it wasn't very good. So having the attention and hopefully resources behind that to make that super successful and be something the fans can go look at. Full-blown support. 100%.
I love it.
All right, Brad. You told me you wrote down like 12 things for college football 26.
I told you I wrote things down.
Wrote things down.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. It's like, man.
Actually, hold on, real quick.
I kind of smoked a bowl, played some NCAA, and kind of wrote some things down on paper. It's kind of what happened.
I want to pause you real quick because there was a comment I wanted to go back to. There was a physical therapist who commented back to our conversation about the non-conference scheduling that re-released today, and basically said it was idiotic to add more games and that people shouldn't be trying to make those early schedules harder. They should be trying to make them easier because of injury, and more hard games is stupid. And basically that it's actually better the way they do it now. And more schools should schedule light early so that there are less car crashes. So I thought it was an interesting argument. I said I would present it on the show, see what you think. I get it from both sides for football.
I mean, there's arguments for both sides always, but I think it would be fun to play Kentucky. Really, like, honestly, the only legit like non-con I'd really want to play is Kentucky and Notre Dame. To be honest, like I could really give less of a fuck if they want to schedule Baylor. Like I don't care. Like sure, like yeah, we'll fucking beat them by 10. It'll be dogfight, but you know, like I don't feel like you go 11-1 and then you're gonna knock like how we played like Indiana State instead of what? Like the Colorado State? Like who did you want? Like, do you want like unless it's like one of the other playoff teams? Like I think we beat basically everyone else. Like besides the playoff. Like
John brings up a good
Boise State. I think we take care of business anyways. Like
John brings up a good point here. The game simulator had us going 12-0. I'll do you one better, John. Here's some little inside baseball for you. Indiana was the only team in the Power Four that was simulated to go undefeated. So I don't know what I'm supposed to make of that, of an NCAA 14 game with updated rosters being simmed in a vacuum. But it's something. It's not nothing. Only undefeated team.
Hey, like I said, the roster doesn't have any. I try to find a weakness in this team and they don't. And the computer verifies that. In the sense, like, yeah, I'm not going to take that with a grain of salt, obviously, but like, you know, usually a lot of
Tyler Morris.
A computer is usually going to take the most complete team and simulate them to go undefeated. Obviously, that's a one-off. Like, they didn't run like 1,000 simulations, right? Like, you know, analytics guy, like, you know, we got to have a lot of large numbers, but in a lot of small numbers, it looks, you know, 12-0 is not out of the realm of possibility for Indiana. Let's make that clear. Like if Mendoza is this top 5 NFL draft pick that some NFL draft guys are talking him to be, the sky is the limit for this team. You know, I'm trying to be like conservative with my like 10-2, 11-1, like trying to be realistic. It's like Mendoza is really like we go as far as Mendoza goes. Like to be honest, the team is so solid. Like 8 wins is the floor. 9, honestly. 9 might be the floor.
I don't put self-imposed limitations on this team.
Exactly. Like I saw the stupid like ceiling floor for each team. It's like 5-7, 10-2. Such a lazy thing for Indiana. It's like I'm gonna make one of those. I'm gonna do 12-0 and 0-12 for every single team. How about that? There's my graphic. Ha. I'll nail it this year. I'm gonna go 18 for 18. I'm gonna nail it.
40 TDs is in play, so Cal says.
40 TDs is in play. Yeah,
It's
is.
in play.
Yeah, it's in play. We are in the window of 40. We can get 40 touchdowns for sure.
All right. College football 26. There's a lot going on in the game from the uniforms. You have two pairs of Hoosier pants, a white and a red that they wore with the all reds with the black outline, just horrible uniform. You do have the black eye helmet, but only two helmets, and then the basic red and white for the jersey. So you're not getting any type of like creative flair for the Hoosiers there. People have their problems with Memorial Stadium. Obviously that didn't get updated this year. We got the coaches in the game, but like I posted on my account on Twitter that like they got Signetti completely wrong. I think Crimson Quarry actually came over the top with my the funniest response with like a Hank Hill quote, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah.
Uh,
with the uniforms, I don't want those red pants or that block eye. Anything pre-sig.
I hate the red
like,
pants. I hate them so much.
I don't need it until we break out a different. The thing I've been asking for is the white helmets on the road. That's all I've been really asking for. Obviously, if we pay like Penn State, I want the red helmets, but anyone else, we gotta be rocking all whites. Like that is such a clean look. I like the idea of two stripes on the pant. I think that's something we can implement moving forward. But still, I still like our look. It's clean, it's classy. It's just red and white, you know. It's just don't no fuss. I don't need any black unless we're doing a full on like Antoine Randall throwback type, maybe 90s, you know, with the black helmet and the red and the white pants.
And then like the 49ers logo type IU. I spent an embarrassing amount of time looking for merch with that logo on
People
it.
Think that uniform's ugly. I think in the throwback setting, I think that thing would go uniform. Absolutely dummy lit. I think it would.
I agree. I want to address what something Argraw just said though. He said if Indiana goes 9-3, is that a huge disappointment given their history? It's not as good as last year, but still really good.
It's not a
would
disappointment.
It be? No, it wouldn't be a disappointment. And it's funny to say that is like you would have a lot of Indiana football fans frustrated,
I would be sad.
And I think rightfully so. But it would also be like the second or third best season in program history. You know, so like to put it in that, like it's like I wrote something similar after they lost the college football playoff game. I was like, man, like I'm disappointed, but like take a step back from that, and like that's such a crazy statement.
They go 9-3. The recruiting cycle keeps going on. They can still bring in an insane class in 2020,
and they win a really fun bowl game. Like that's not the end of the world.
They go 20 wins in 2 years, all of a sudden, just out of the blue. Like I mean, people are going to pay attention to that. Obviously, if they go 7-5, it kind of dies down. I don't see that. That is disaster class. That is like bad injuries happen. We gotta stay healthy.
Wins, that would be a disaster.
Yeah, I really like Derek.
Even 8 wins, I'd be a little bit disappointed.
I like our strength coach Derek Owings mostly for the fact that besides some season enders last year, we were pretty much week to week very healthy. Week to week, we were like absurdly healthy, and hopefully that continues. I think that's more of a. I don't know if that's a luck thing or a. Derek Owings is really fucking good at his job.
I think it's that one because
you see like in their weight trains, they're doing a ton of like stretching stuff. Like they're not just showing them lift. Like they are, I think they do full on seminars of like yoga and stretching just to make sure they're, injury prevention.
He's as good as it gets.
So easily overlooked in a football program. Guys don't take it seriously. That's part of like when I said how they practice, that's everything. That's how they lift. That's how they recover. That's how they stretch. It's how they just do all the little things right, because that's how you get to the league, period. That's the message.
It's not an accident USC wanted and tried to spend a bunch of money to bring him to Southern California.
Yeah.
And Justin Beard is right. We cannot forget about the Bison. It is National Bison Month, actually, still. We are in smack dab right in the middle of National Bison Month.
I wouldn't call it a
shout out to Hoosier the Bison.
Yeah. It would be an over in Vegas. So in that sense, it's a good season. Probably go to a cool bowl. Probably get our first bowl win if we end up going 9. Like we'd be a good 9-3 team. We go 9-3, go to the Outback Bowl. It'll probably be whoever that poor team is by 20. Like that's how that would go. And but yeah, sometimes the chips fall different ways, and you end up 9-3. I mean, just look at Florida State last year. Like they were not a 2-10 team talent wise. Things just collapsed. And it was just an avalanche. Like they're going to be back this year. Like it's just, these things kind of happen, but with Sig, I feel like we stay on the track better than any other. Like, I saw him on the top 10 coaching list. Like basically he's just like all those guys in terms of he's going to keep the ship steady. He's going to make sure it's still going straight. Even if we drop early to Illinois, all of a sudden we beat Oregon on the road and we're right back in the rat race. It's really not that. I think.
Yeah, I think Ole Miss isn't a good, like it's actually a horrible comparison. Like Ole Miss is an undisciplined football team. There's plenty of film you can go find.
The
like
amount
that
of
is actually the complete opposite of Kurt Signetti. And
amount of
to be, and this isn't just me saying this because you said you were a Penn State fan, but like if I'm Penn State, if I'm Ohio State, if I'm Michigan, I'm nervous. I'm very, very, very nervous. He's in these recruiting battles and he has got half the bankroll that these teams do. And he's in the conversation with these kids.
For me, it's the in-game execution, right? Like, remember Maryland, first 3 offensive plays, 2 picks from Rourke. What do? They drop 42 points is what they do, actually. Usually when you throw 2 picks on offense, your team's going to stall. They're going to be panicked. Your quarterback's going to be a head case. Was not the case. They focused on getting the run game back, and then that opened the door for Rourke to cook and do his thing. Like they know how to operate. Bringing back both coordinators is so huge, especially for this particular year. I'm like I said, it's very hard to find red flags with this team. It is very difficult. We got to nitpick. We have a whole we call it out when we're nitpicking. You know. It's like, I wish we had a quarterback earlier in this 2026. We only got a quarterback. We didn't get a quarterback till late June. Ugh. God.
Here's what we can nitpick, Brad. We can nitpick the fact that Indiana's roster is only 75% complete for CFB 26. There's no Charlie Becker. There's no Davion Chandler.
I have it all written down who they're missing. You want me to run through
it? Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah.
First thing, I went through quarterback and then I went down through to the roster, right? Alberto Mendoza, grossly underrated, should be QB2. However, it's acceptable. Not too many people know that. Grant Wilson was brought in to be the QB2. Little do people know Alberto beat him out in spring. Competition still remains. Competition is always open at quarterback in the SIG world until week 1. So, Alberto should probably be a 70+ because he's on the. I feel like if you're scholarship, you should be 70+. I feel like they just gotta.
Well, dude, what is Landino a 52?
If you're scholarship on a Big Ten team, you're probably 70+ on EA. But anyways, Black grossly underrated. I think he was a 72. He should be an 80+. That stood out to me. And then there's no Sean Cuono. Who the hell is Hageman and Barker? You know, I wrote down the fake names that they wrote down for all the players.
No Maverick Geske in the quarterback room. No Jacob Bell.
Yeah. They aren't SEC. Oh, I got distracted by the chat again. My bad. Nowakowski. So they put in this fake fullback.
Yeah, I don't. Right? Why wouldn't they just put Nowakowski there?
They should have put Nowakowski. He's legit fullback. He's 6'1", 245. Yeah. He can play tight end, but that he's like an H-back. He can. They should have listed him at fullback and given him tight end traits to where he's still the tight end 2 above Bamba. When you do the depth chart, you know how the ratings change when you're in different positions, things like that.
Yep.
That's just what I would do. Receiver, no Davion Chandler. Who the hell is Pickett and Norwood? These are exact words I wrote down on the paper, by the way. Who the hell is Pickett?
Who are these guys?
Who the hell are those guys? And then there's no Charlie Becker. Kendrick should be a 71+. Cooper should be an 85+. I think he was underrated. I think he was like an 82. Cooper's got to be an 85. And then in tight end, no Blake Thierry, and then a bunch of randoms. It got to a point where there were so many randoms, I just wasn't going to write down them all. It got to a point. I'm like, who are these fake players? I don't like this. I don't like this at all. If I'm going to run Dynasty, all of a sudden I have this fake person starting as my we have a fake safety number 75, rated 75.
That doesn't even exist.
82. He's not even real. He's not even a real person. And then linebacker, no Kamara, no Nelson, no Clark. I mean, they just fumbled the bag. That's half the room.
Literally.
And then some disrespectful numbers, I thought. Hardy and Jones being 72s, they got to be. Obviously, they're kind of question marks on this team, but I think they're very good. Realistically, Hardy should be a 99. And then
obviously, he's the best football player on the planet.
Hardy's the best football player I've ever seen. True sophomore. He's going to start at linebacker this year. He should be a 99. And then Isaiah Bones-Jones, I mean, he's got to be at least a 78. At least. He's so solid. Special team specialist, ace, whatever you want to call him. Landino at Sam, also egregious rating. Also, I'm gonna go back. Jeff Utzinger
Landino at Sam.
Jeff Utzinger at safety at 60. Like, dude,
So disrespectful.
It's like people don't even know who the best walk-on linebacker is in the country. It's Jeff Utzinger. No, just kidding. But I mean, that guy, he's so good. He's so 60 is just egregious. It's egregious. He's got to be at least as a walk-on. He's got to be a 70. Like, he's a walk-on that plays. He's a 70. And then Landino at Sam. That's just ridiculous. I have him listed at D tackle right now on the infamous depth chart. So like he did play a lot of edge last year, but he's gonna be D line. He is D line. And I want to. He's either edge or like you could make him edge. That's fine. I would. I want to
just pop in here for the people who haven't been able to see the depth charts yet. The way they have it listed out is it's not like right end or left end. It's like edge, right edge, left edge, and then the linebackers. So like they don't even have Landino on the edge. They have him at Sam linebacker. It's crazy.
We're not even going into the fact that they have the scheme wrong, even though it does kind of play well.
It does kind of play correctly, but the scheme is they have it as a 3-4.
Is incorrect because they run a 4-2-5, just like basically every single college program in the country is running now. Because the spread, that's the spread effect. You know, you got to run 5 DBs now. Landino at Sam, grossly underrated. Wyatt's at Sam. I wrote that down, but that's kind of acceptable. He's a 3-4 outside linebacker, but he's going to play stand up DN on this team.
Just pretty much.
He's only a Sam because they have him at a 3-4. The defense is a 3-4. So like that's I wrote acceptable. Like I wrote acceptable next to Alberto Mendoza. I wrote acceptable. I'm insane. That's bad. Louis Moore, grossly underrated. I think he was like a 72.
Disgustingly underrated. Oh my god, horrible.
Disgustingly underrated. He's got to be a 78 at least.
At least.
No Baldwin. Who is Eric Gillespie? Eric Gillespie's that 75 rated free safety. Like that's got to be Byron Baldwin.
Yeah, it has to.
I don't know what's going on there. No Garrett Reese. No Hollywood Bell. No Zach Smith. One of my darlings, Zachary Smith. And then Bonds at corner, Boykin's at strong safety. I would flip them. They did nail Devon Boykin. He is the slot corner on the team, so they kind of nailed that because that he is going to be the starting rover this year. And then they just neglected special teams. You want to know how? You know, Frankie long kicks, our kickoff specialist, not even on the roster. It's disgusting. It's insane.
Did you see where they listed Mark Langston?
Did I miss that? Is he not at long snapper?
He's listed at tight end.
What?
He's at tight end on the depth.
Is there not like a long snapper like depiction? Like,
no, you can like go in and set it in the depth chart, but it's not like a specific position. Tight end, Mark Langston. Shout out to Mark Langston. There was a cool.
Happy you're back for your 8th year, Mark Langston. Super happy about that. I'm joking. It's like his 6th year, but I should have made it.
He's gonna run a regression on.
I should have made it more hyperbolic to have you not believe it. Thanks for coming back for your 20th year here at IU, Mark Langston. Thank you so much. He's been long snapping since since pre-Hepner, really.
That's funny. Is that all you had for the players?
That's all I wrote down. Yeah, that's all I got.
Cool. I don't know if you were able to listen to some of the commentary. There's been a lot of the Nico Emalava transfer clips going around, but specifically to Indiana and the bucket game. Oh my God, they nailed the bucket game commentary. They do the whole 67 yards, 66 points, whole fired whole staff. Oh yeah, it is ruthless in the best way possible. It was absolutely incredible. Man. I highly recommend going and kicking the shit out of Purdue. Being the first thing you do on the game.
Imagine being like the super like the 10-year-old Purdue fan that's like,
dude, that's what I was thinking.
I can't wait to play with my favorite team.
A bucket game, like I'm gonna go play my rival.
Oh, it's Indiana, sure. Like let's send it, and then they just open up with that. They're just like, what the heck?
Yeah, what the hell? Purdue had to change its entire football. Had to fire it in embarrassment. Like, oh my God, what's going on here? Did I create this commentary? It's
him a body bag. Oh my goodness.
That's pretty much how it went. It is hilarious. And then the one spot where college football does a good job of like showing respect to the Hoosiers is in college ultimate team. Obviously, it's a very play to win mode, and I have my feelings about that. I'm not the biggest fan of things where it like forces you to spend money to be any good early in the season. But like there's an Aiden Fisher card that's towards the top of the overall rating list that you can get just through like playing the game. And there's so I'll be on the lookout for different cards that come out. But yeah, College Ultimate Team usually does a pretty good job of presenting the Indiana players. So I'll be grinding for that Aiden Fisher for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad he's getting his flowers. Remember when that big Pawns card came out last year? At least we're getting the preseason. We're getting preseason cards now. There we go. Slot
corner D'Angelo Pons. Everybody knows that PFF's third best returning corner in the nation. First round draft pick, slot corner for sure. Shout out the whatever. Do you have any closing thoughts, Brett?
Closing thoughts. SEC is like Muhammad Ali just because you claim to be the greatest. Don't make it so. Man, John, you are the most old school guy I've ever met. I've ever not met. Yeah. You are the most old school guy I've never not met.
Don't worry. When we come to Bloomington, we'll be here.
Low key, is Tyson the GOAT?
No, he didn't do it for long enough. Shout out to Knicks.
Yeah, shout out Knicks. Shout out, oh my God, the Cubs.
Here's my final thought. I got flamed for my cups being like all destroyed last week. I was being made fun of. So I dug around and I was like, I have a bunch of Knicks glasses. So
yeah, I have a couple in my apartment too. They just somehow just appear. It's like I steal them or something from Knicks every time I go there.
Gifts from my roommates. Like I said, I have been teasing an article for 2-3 weeks on this show specifically that dropped today. You can check that out at vocfb.com. From Purgatory to Powerhouse, the rise of Curt Cignetti's Indiana football. If you have questions like Argraw about where the hell this Indiana Hoosiers team came from and how we ended up from the beginning of the 2024 season through the playoff, go check out that piece. If you just want to be nostalgic and just remember the 2024 season and a bunch of different moments, go check out that piece. And I tried to give it enough of a runway. So we have about 2 weeks before Media Day starts. And then once Media Day hits, like we talked about basketball for a long time today. I'm ready to put that on the back burner. We talked
we're not talking about basketball till November, probably.
Yeah.
Game 1.
Yep. And we're done talking about before Cignetti times too. Like I love Coach Tom Allen. I wish him nothing but success at Clemson, and like as a person, like I'm quoted as saying, like,
see them in Natty this year. That's kind of cool.
I didn't want to be the person to write the fire Tom Allen piece because the guy just means too much to me. But like, this is Curt Cignetti's Indiana football, and so I'm ready to focus on that moving forward. You can follow us on Twitter at Indiana VOCFB. Please like, comment, share, subscribe on YouTube. Shout out to Jackson Johnson. I saw him post this in the chat earlier. We are 87 subscribers away from 500. We're chasing that down before the season. Obviously, be on the lookout. We're releasing clips of this live show throughout the week. You can follow Brad on Twitter at Bradley_Loomis8. You can follow me at Alec Keyser. You can follow us on Instagram. You can follow us on Twitter. And we're available wherever you get your podcasts. Again, vocfb.com. Appreciate everybody hanging out. I appreciate everybody sitting through the hour of basketball. I also very much appreciate the fact that we were getting blasted to go talk about football. Warms my heart.
Let's respect that moment again. That was beautiful.
That was awesome.
Wow,
that was awesome.
It was a Penn State fan that was kind of pissed, but it was like, it's like, hey,
Blanket Sky was in there asking about Ronell Johnson and like, when are we going to hear about these 4 stars committing, because this is a big deal and we need to be talking about this stuff. And to be honest, they're right. Like so that's why it's like we spent some time looking back and looking forward, and now we're getting ready to live in the moment. So I appreciate everybody for watching. Appreciate everybody for hanging out. Brad?
Closing thought. I finally got it. I think we're going to look back on this week with Ronell Johnson and Walker Bryson committing, and we're going to look back on this week very fondly. We're going to be like, remember when those all Big Ten guys recruited in the same week? That was sick.
It did feel like that was kind of a moment. I do agree. Check out my article, vocfb.com. 3,000 words. 3,000 words. We appreciate you guys. We'll be back next week. Go Hoosiers. Oh, don't worry, PK. The goal it's an alternating goal. But we will see you guys next week. 500 subs by the start of the season, and then hopefully pushing well past that. That's
the goal is too low. Well, we got to start somewhere, We were at like 35 when we took over this channel. Anyways.
Appreciate you guys.
Anyhow.
See you next week.